Mhm.
Okay. Thank you both so much for joining me. I was able to see the first episode. This was exciting. It's much bigger than what we saw last season, especially in terms of the scales and also in terms of the challenges. So for this season, I wanted to know, when in preparation for everything, what was it that you would say you wanted the main goal to be?
Yeah, we wanted to just celebrate creativity. I think that's our ultimate goal, is just to showcase just how amazing these builders are. And that was a task for Amy and I, just to make sure that we are really celebrating this, because, you know, as much as it's a competition and we have to potentially, well, we have to send people home, we want to make sure that everybody on that show, the whole world, gets to see just how amazing and creative they are.
And I think in terms of the challenges, we really want to, I mean, we've got 12 teams this time, which is a lot, super exciting, but we wanted to see, you know, all the different aspects these teams could bring. So we created challenges that tested all different sides of them, but also kind of take them on a journey and progressively get harder throughout the season and get bigger and more exciting builds. So yeah, we just want to push them and really see what they have in them.
Now, it's also been teased, we're getting some explosions. We kind of touched on there's movement that we kind of saw before. What would you say that is a challenge that you was really excited to see pulled off? And kind of like when you thought about it, it was like, oh, this could be fun.
I mean, the one that Jamie and I definitely got the most excited about is we have a fashion challenge. And that's something we've always wanted to do since season 1, but we just couldn't quite find the right way to get, you know, Lego and fashion to meet. And now we have this awesome challenge. Everyone was just having so much fun during it. And I think we got some incredible creations that are very unexpected from Lego bricks.
And I think the beauty of it is, that not only do you see amazing Lego models, but you actually get to see the personality of the teams come through. And that's where we're teasing you a little bit there. But if you can just imagine an episode where amazing models, you get to see Amy, Will, myself in a very different way, where we're just really having fun. It's just an episode that it's nonstop smiles and amazing creations.
Now, for both of you, I was wondering, what is it about Lego itself that you was like, I love this, I'm going to make a career out of this, I love the show as well, this is all a great idea?
You can go first, Jamie.
Oh, so what is it about Lego itself as a creative tool?
Yes, because we started out as kids, everyone here's some Lego blocks, you create something, but as an adult, it's really become such a fine art if you really look at it.
And I think that's what's so impressive about the show, is that a lot of people are seeing the simple, humble Lego brick in such a different way. I mean, who would have thought, if you think back to season 1, that this little brick can hold 1,000 pounds when you connect enough together on this bridge challenge. And in season 2, we have other ways of showing how these simple bricks can do amazing things. And some of them are strength, you know, where you can do some of these, you know, strength challenges, not to give away too much, but it's also the creative aspect that you can make squares into round shapes, and that you can actually bring personality to your models and make lots of characters. So I think it's that versatility to be able to express yourself and your imagination. That's what's really inspiring, that I think people are going to love in the show.
Yeah, for me, I think it's also all stems in the creativity and imagination. And I think whether it's a box of Lego bricks or whether it's the show, there's something about this accessibility that everyone can have a Lego experience, and it can somehow bring everyone together, and everyone can share stories of their own Lego experience, no matter your age or where you come from. And I think that's something quite magical about Lego bricks.
Now, going back kind of on season 1 a little bit, because we can't talk about season 2, was there a particular team that was the underdog that you really was like, I don't know if they're going to make it? And throughout the challenges, it kind of changed your misconceptions about them.
I think we saw
season
a lot
1
of growth. I'm sorry. Yeah, for season 1.
Was that?
I think for season 1, we saw tremendous growth with Sam and Jessica. I mean, they were clearly a team that at the early challenges, they were trying to find their way. I mean, they're both artists. And if you imagine 2 artists coming together, that's hard, because, you know, art is such a personal thing, and trying to align in such a quick period of time on a challenge that, you know, you've never done before. I would say that they were definitely finding their way in the early stages of the competition, but they definitely by the end, you could just see how much they've grown as a team and really grew to appreciate each other and how they balanced each other and really playing to each other's strengths to create one of the most impressive models we've ever seen, especially for the finale. It was really great to see how much they had grown.
Same for you?
Yeah, I think Sam and Jessica were certainly the biggest growth journey in the competition. But I think even if you think to Mark and Boone, in episode 1, they had a big setback. They made an amazing model, but it didn't work, and that knocks your confidence when you try something and it doesn't work. And I think they struggled with it for a couple of weeks to kind of get their mojo back and feel comfortable. So I think no matter what, we love people taking risks, but it's really tough if you take a risk and it doesn't pay off in the end.
Right. Now, for us fans, we see the final cut of everything. We see it edited down. These are challenges that are like 10 to 14 hours long. I was wondering, for both of you, could you tell us a little bit about what goes on behind the stages that we don't get to see?
Well, one thing is that everything is always seen. There are cameras everywhere. And we, even when we're offset, have the luxury of having monitors to watch everybody on the show. And we can even hear what they're saying because they all have audio mics. So it's really great that even when we're off stage, we can see their progression. We can hear their discussions and what they're going through. And that's important to us because, we don't want to be there on set in front of them the whole time, because that can be very intimidating, if they're always feeling like we're watching. But somehow, because of all the cameras being there, we can just kind of be a little bit behind the scenes and still watch and then enjoy every moment of what people are doing. And sometimes scratch our heads and say, I have no idea what they're doing. You see it for hour after hour and you're like, I don't know if they're going to make it. And that's a chance for us to then go out and then we'll have a talk with them. And then it's really nice that we can have that kind of behind the scenes access without actually always interfering or interrupting their flow.
The same as well?
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
No, I was just saying, I think that, we're, as Jamie said, we're trying not to distract them too much, and we're trying to watch as much as we can, but there's loads of other things that are going on because we have brick tips, we have interviews going on that you see, off camera. We are always thinking onto the next challenge as well, a little bit, Jamie and I, of like really nailing what are we looking for, if there's any final testing being done. So I think it's a very fluid and dynamic process of making a TV show, and we're trying to stay focused on the challenge that's happening, but also get ready for the next challenge that is literally just about to happen, and think about how we're going to give the right feedback and always who's in the top and who's in the bottom, trying that constant ranking so that we're ready for when the elimination comes around.
Right. Yeah. Now, for both, I was wondering, from season 1, were there any kind of lessons that you learned that you now imply, that you now can put into season 2?
Most definitely. I think Amy and I have both, when you see yourself on TV, you can't help but have an opinion of, oh man, what was I thinking? Or I could have done that better. And for me, it was definitely like just making sure people at home understand what we're thinking. Because if we're, making people win or lose or go home, people want a reason, because in the end, they're seeing amazing models the whole season through. And for the average person, it's really hard to understand how an amazing model isn't amazing enough. So I think, at least for myself, and I think Amy as well, we've tried to be much more deliberate and focused, like really trying to help people at home understand, not just people at home, but the builders as well, help them understand where they need to be for that particular challenge. Because then people, even if they're sad to see their favorite team not do as well or go home, they at least understand why. And I think that is a big improvement that we've tried to do for season 2.
And I think watching it at home and realizing it's not a long TV show. So you got to be snappy, you got to be sharp with what you say, and just thinking, how can we say this in the shortest possible way so we make sure that the audience at home also gets the whole story and gets what we're thinking.
Wonderful. Now, if for season 2, if you could think of a tagline, what would it be?
Tagline, I would just say more. Like, it's just more intense, more challenges, more teams, more fun. I just think you really see, a nice chemistry between not only the builders, but also, Will, Amy, and myself. We're more comfortable with each other now. I mean, it was quite an experience in the first season to figure everything out And now we came back to almost like a reunion, like, hey, we haven't seen you for a while. And then I just think that it was just a really fun experience. So I hope you get to see that in everything that's happening, is everybody's just really enjoying every moment of what's going on.
But for sure, there's plenty of brick puns, right, Jamie? Brick-related puns. So we could say it's unbrickleavable, get your brick on. Let's think of some more. We love a good brick pun. I think there's so many sprinkled throughout the show. We definitely had a lot of fun with that.
But I would never try to compete against Will on that one. He always wins.
I love the chemistry between you three. It's amazing. So I was wondering as well, for this season, I know you talked about challenges that you couldn't do from last season, like the fashion challenge, for example. Was there a challenge that you are not necessarily looking forward to, but that you was really great? I know you can't say who did what, but that came off spectacularly aside from the fashion?
I think the first challenge, which we can also talk about a little bit, the having the Lego floats, the parade day. I think that was a great introduction to our builders, and couldn't have gone any better, because it's really a chance. It's a bit of a party, it's a celebration, it's a chance for them to show us who they are. And wow, do they show us who they are and why they're in that competition.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that the first episode immediately sets the tone, where you're like, wow, this is going to be quite a season. If this is the very first episode and people are delivering what they're delivering, this is going to be intense. And that's exactly how it turned out. That's really talented teams that can do amazing stuff.
Right. Now, do you both kind of set the challenges as well, go through it and know what's going on? Or is it already planned beforehand?
We have a whole stack of challenge ideas, and we have a whole team working to help us create them and test them out, because it takes a lot of work and energy to actually get the challenges just right and get them to work. And there's certainly challenges that we would love to do that we just haven't quite found what's the right way to make them work in the timing, or for TV, or the right constraints. So it's a big task, and there's a lot of people behind it, for sure. But Jamie and I love to get hands-on and give our input and really understand what's behind the challenge, and so we can do the best judging and give the best advice as well.
Yeah, definitely a team effort.
Is there a particular challenge, not to say just for the show, just in general, what kind of inspires you and cracks that creativity?
I think we especially love the more open-ended challenges that are just like total blue sky. Like when we had the children's storytelling in season 1, and they start making up this character of a taker waker. Like, I think that type of just total blue sky thinking is really fun. But I think what surprised us in season 2 is even like we have the, we have the balance between the creative challenges and the strength challenges. And even just one of the strength challenges, we were blown away by the creativity on how they solved the challenge. So I think we've learned to not take for granted that, there are creative challenges and then there are technical challenges or strength challenges, because even one that we thought was pretty straightforward was going to be all about strength. I just got so excited at how many ways the people reimagined solving the problem.
I mean, Jamie and I have seen a lot of Lego builds in our time, and I think what always gets us is when we see something completely new and surprising, which the teams do time and time again, especially in this season, and just that originality and the fact that we can just reinvent things or totally push the boundaries on a challenge and give us something we never would have expected in testing or even creating the challenge. I think that always really excites us.
Now, if you were contestants on Lego Masters, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh, good shoes.
I think both Jamie and I always laugh because we're not the fastest builders. We love to kind of take our time, relax, and that's not the way you can be on Lego Masters. So I think our advice would be to really watch the clock and plan everything so we get the build finished in time.
Wonderful.
Yeah, because that's the problem, I think, is that like I'm a planner, Amy's a planner, so we would actually be quite tough to watch for the first couple of hours because we would just be thinking and trying to figure out what we're doing up front. But it would be a lot of fun. We actually can't help ourselves, but during some of the challenges, we go off to the side and talk about what would we do, because it's just so exciting to think about how to solve some of these problems.
Ah, well, and I was kind of wondering also, as being host, how has that kind of helped, not necessarily in your personal life, but what did you take away as host, just in general, of how you interact with people?
I mean,
Good
one
question.
thing I think is you have to, what am I saying? You have to think about what you're going to say. That was what I was going to say, and it's taken me a long time to think about what I'm going to say. But no, I think we really learned that when you're going in, you're giving advice, people are under time pressure, they're stressed. Going and telling them they're doing 100 things wrong and to fix them is not the right thing to do. So it's really also considering, how are you going to help this person? What's the best advice you can give to push them in the right direction? And I think that's something I've really taken home to my team, that sometimes saying everything and the smallest details doesn't help that person get better. It's the big things they can actually focus on and solve the problems for themselves. And that's the best advice.
But I also think we learned that you can't just feel something. Like sometimes you can't help but you see a model and you just love it or you don't like it. And when Amy and I are judging, we have to be able to communicate with each other as well as the audience at home. So it's having to put words to what are you seeing, what are you feeling, in a way that we can both understand and the people at home can understand. So that way we can ultimately make a decision. So I think it's really challenging sometimes to put words to what are you seeing when there's everything is amazing, there's over the top ideas, like really trying to be sharp and articulate why one is slightly better than the other one or didn't quite hit the mark. That's really challenging, but I think it was a fun challenge that we managed to come around to each time.
Yeah, because there can be something quite emotional sometimes in the builds. You're just like, I just feel like I absolutely love it. And then you're like, what is that I love about it? How do I pinpoint that? And how do I share it with each other? And even Jamie and I sometimes have a hard time sharing that with each other.
Was there a challenge that got you both emotional, whether it's like excitement or just how it touched you by the meaning behind it?
I think for me, it's the first challenge, because that's the builders showing you who they are, really putting their hearts in the bricks and showing you why they're so passionate and what they love, and so much about their personality. And there is a lot of emotion, I feel, in the builds in that episode.
Yeah, and there's a lot of trust. Like people are really vulnerable, that they are exposing themselves to the world for the very first time. And that's intimidating. You don't know how the world is going to view you. But to be able to share that with the world, I think the first episode is especially powerful. And you can't help but instantly fall in love with so many of these builders. And you're like, oh man, this is going to be a ride, because I don't want to see any of these people going home.
Very true. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
It's really been a pleasure. Thank you.
It's been awesome.
No problem at all. And I look forward to more episodes in season 3, because this is exciting.
Woohoo! Same here.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Have
you
a great
all.
day. Thank you.
Bye.